Welcome back to Sunday Dinner. Today we are making birria. We live in Pearland, Texas, which is a suburb of Houston, and one of the biggest food crazes in all of Texas right now is birria. What birria is just stewed meat. This is a Jaliscan recipe from Mexico. Obviously, living here in Texas, we have such great food influence from our Mexican cousins and families here that really contributed greatly to the entire Houston food scene. Anyways, we've been making this now for a while. We've been experimenting with this recipe, and we're really excited to share it with you. Originally, we started making this with mainly beef. We mixed in some lamb, and quickly, some of my friends that are from Jalisco said, "Hey Trey, why are you not making this with goat? Because that's really what we do." And from there on out, we pivoted, and now we're making it with a mixture of both goat. We're doing some beef short rib, and today we also added some chuck roast. This is some grass-fed chuck roast that really looked unbelievable. So I'm really excited to share this. So believe it or not, this recipe is super simple. Actually doesn't take you much prep or cooking time at all. While it may seem complex, it's really easy. And you're gonna see as we walk through these steps here. So the first step in creating this recipe is creating a mole. And that's really the entire flavor base of this dish is the mole. And it makes it really special. And as you can see here, we have 4 different types of dried peppers. We have Ancho peppers, we have chili de Árbol, we have chili Guajillos, and we have chili Pasillas. And with this, I have about 5 or 6 of each one of these. I'm making about 4 to 5 pounds of meat, so I'm actually gonna make a pretty large size amount of mole for this amount of meat. We're also gonna add a Chipotle and Adobo as well to the mole. With that, it's gonna be really easy. We're just gonna toast those peppers. We're then gonna add them with some hot chicken stock and blend them. Then you're gonna see all the spices. We have some spices here, really easy. You can see we have cumin seed, coriander seed, we have whole cloves, we have whole peppercorns. Then we're gonna toast some bay leaves and cinnamon stick with that. From there, we're gonna ground those spices, add it to our mole peppers, blend that up. And then from there, it's so simple. You literally just use this Instapot, which you can do this in a Dutch oven over 3 to 4 hours. This Instapot shortens it by about 3 hours. It's about 1 hour of overall cook time, and it comes out just incredible, incredibly tender, combines the flavors. So to me, I don't think this is cheating. Actually, this is a really efficient way to cook this dish. Anyways, you just finish this off by adding the meat with the mole, with some onion, garlic, and some roasted peppers. You can absolutely substitute real whole peppers instead of this. We kind of cheating on this recipe, just using some fire roasted Rotel tomatoes, which we love for this dish. And from there, we're gonna pressure cook it for about 1 hour, like we said. From there, pull the meat out, shred it, add it back to its juices or the consomme that we've created. And then from there, we're gonna bring that back out. Then we're gonna prepare it 2 different ways. We're gonna just prepare it as stewed meat, which is actually the true traditional way that they would serve this in Jalisco. And then what we've seen here is the fad of Quesa Tacos, which is nothing but tacos, which we're gonna use the fat and grease that the consomme produced. And we're gonna fry the corn tortillas, adding some queso quesadilla, and you can actually use different Oaxacan cheeses, any melting cheeses you like. We're gonna add that to the tacos, add the birria. We're gonna fry them up to where they're really nice and crisp and serve them with some cilantro, radish, and some pickled onions that we made earlier today. So with that, we're gonna go ahead and get to cooking. I know that was a little long-winded, but you're gonna see how easy this recipe is and an unbelievable flavor punch that will ask you to come back for some more. So join you here shortly. Welcome back. Okay, as we talked about, the first step in this process is making our mole. And what we're gonna do here is we've taken the peppers that we talked about, the Guajillo, Pasilla, chili Ancho, and chili de Árbol, and we've kind of split them open and taken kind of all the seeds out. And what we try to do that is that way the seeds will produce a bitter flavor. From here, we're literally just gonna put these in the pan and kind of dry toast these. And what that's gonna do is allow the chilies to start releasing their natural oils. And that's what's gonna give this entire recipe an incredible punch. From here, we've taken 3 cups of bone broth. And what we're gonna do is we got that heating up already. We're gonna toast these for about 2 or 3 minutes on each side. And you're gonna see they're just gonna start toasting really quickly. No oil, it's just gonna start toasting up. We're gonna add these to the chicken broth. We're gonna get that to a very low simmer, and we're gonna turn the heat off, put the lid on, and let those hydrate for about 30 to 40 minutes. I may even cook them for a few minutes as they start to simmer. I'm gonna multitask here because I can sit here and just let those rotate. Now I have my herbs and aromatics, and I have a couple teaspoons of coriander seed. I have about 10 to 12 whole black peppercorns. Then I have about a teaspoon of coriander seed, about 6 whole cloves. I have 1 cinnamon stick, and I have 2 bay leaves. Again, I'm just gonna sit here and I'm just gonna let those toast. Probably toast those for about 4 or 5 minutes. When they start becoming really fragrant, I'm gonna take them right off the heat. And here you just kind of slowly move these around and let them cook for just a few minutes. This is not a lengthy process. As you see, these have been already cooking for about a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and start turning these. And you'll see, once these start cooking, they'll actually start puffing up a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and do this in a couple batches. As you see, we have another batch here to do. We're gonna add this to our bone broth, get those hydrated, and we'll come back to you. Okay, so we're through our second batch of dried chilies, and Jen, if you can come in here, you can see the chili de arbols are starting to kind of turn color. You can start seeing you got the nice little char, just a little bit on the peppers. What I'm doing here is now just putting them in to the bone broth, and from there, like I said, I'm going to bring this up to a simmer as soon as I get all these added. I've now turned this off as well. These are our dried herbs and aromatics. They've been toasting for about 4 or 5 minutes. I'm just going to make sure all of this is submerged into the liquids, which is, we chose bone broth or a chicken bone broth. You can actually use beef broth, you can do water. We're using chicken bone broth. Okay, so I'm going to actually turn this heat up to where I get it just to a simmer. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and take kind of our aromatics out. I have a stick of cinnamon and a couple bay leaves here. I'm just going to try to quickly take those out. Then from here, I have my wife's great-grandmother's molcajete, which works fantastic. It is incredibly smooth. And I'm just gonna dump all of my herbs in here. And from here, all I'm gonna do is just kind of crush these up. It doesn't have to be incredibly fine. I'm gonna sit here and just kind of roll. You can see all of those nice toasted herbs now are releasing. It smells incredible. My son's gonna be proud of me. I wish I had smell-o-vision. This smells incredible. The coriander, the cumin, the cloves, the black pepper, all combining, and it smells fantastic. Okay, we're gonna add this once these peppers kind of finish hydrating. It's already up to a simmer. Perfect. Jen, if you can look at this here. Got just to a boil, exactly what I'm looking for. I'm now gonna turn it down to low. I'm gonna go ahead and put my lid on. I'm gonna cook this for 1 minute with that boiling, and then I'm gonna take it off of the heat. I'm gonna let that hydrate after that for 1 full hour. After that hour, I'm gonna take this chicken stock, all my hydrated peppers, my herbs, we're gonna put it into the blender, and that's it for our mole. From there, it's literally just a couple more steps, and we're done with the whole dish. So really, the most complicated piece of this entire recipe is toasting your herbs and toasting your peppers. Other than that, it's using the Instant Pot, which is a great cooking tool, to get this beef incredibly tender and infuse the flavor of the mole that's really gonna set this apart. Join you back here shortly. Okay, so our peppers have been in this pot in the bone broth for a little over 30 minutes. And if you're gonna come on in here, you can kind of see here, they're nice and hydrated. They're now softened up and ready to add to our blender. Okay, what I did here is I took all of those toasted spices and we have them down here. You see it's a couple teaspoons worth of spices. It smells truly amazing. I do have another 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. If I had allspice berries, which I did not, only had ground allspice, I would have added that to it. Unfortunately, I didn't. One other note, if you don't have a 120-year-old molcajete, it is absolutely okay. Use a coffee grinder, a spice grinder, whatever you have, but I do challenge you, try to use some fresh spices, toast them. It's gonna open up the flavors. It's gonna be a lot more intense than just your store-bought spices. So if you don't worry about it. You can use those same spices and kind of create that blend. Okay, all right, so now we're gonna go ahead and take our chilies. We're just gonna dump them in here as carefully as we can, not to spill anything. Okay, perfect. Then gonna take our toasted spices as well as our allspice, put that in here. Then you can see I also have 3 chipotles and adobo. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and add these here. And that's it for our mole. So now I'm gonna go ahead and kind of just combine this. The intensity of these flavors is really incredible. It's going to provide the entire color for the dish, which is this reddish brown chili goodness. I'm going to stop it. What I do is I just kind of pulse it a few times, keep it combining, slowly build it up. So I'm getting all of these spices really nicely mixed. Okay, it's not going to take too long. There are a few seeds in here. The chili de arbols. The chili de arbols we actually didn't de-seed. And what that's going to do is actually provide just a little bit of heat to this dish. We de-seeded all the rest of our chilies, and now you can just see the steam coming out of here. Wow, this smells unbelievable. It's going to, again, create our entire flavor base for our dish, and this is our homemade mole. So that's it. So now from here, we're going to start using our Instant Pot to start sauteing our vegetables, add our meat, and then it's just a matter of letting this cook in the pressure cooker for about 1 hour, and we'll be ready to start plating and serving. Join you back soon. Okay, for the next step here, we have our Instant Pot out. I've already put this on saute. I'm just going to use a touch of light olive oil. You can use regular olive oil if you want. Probably using about a teaspoon. The only thing we're using that for is to now start sauteing our onions. So I have one about medium to large yellow onion, which kind of just medium to coarsely chopped. Kind of see it's already nice and hot. We're going to start sauteing this onion. I don't have to cook it this much. I want to go ahead and just start cooking this onion to probably about 2 or 3 minutes. It's not going to be completely translucent, but then we're going to add our garlic. As you can see, I have about 6 or 8 cloves of garlic here. We love garlic in our dishes. We think it adds a lot of flavor. If you don't like garlic as much, you can cut down here a little bit as you want. So we're going to let this saute for 2 or 3 minutes. We're then going to add our tomatoes, our herbs, our spices, our meat, our mole, and then it's time to let the pressure cooker do its thing. So that's it. So we're going to just sit here for about 2 or 3 minutes, let this onion start releasing some of its beautiful sweetness, and we'll come right back. Okay, so our onions are starting to become translucent. It's been 2 or 3 minutes. I'm gonna add this big old batch of garlic that I talked about, and I'm gonna cook this literally for about 30 seconds. That's it, till they become fragrant. As soon as they're fragrant, we're gonna go ahead and add our tomatoes, and this is gonna cook for about 2 or 3 more minutes, and then the rest of the ingredients all go in at one time, and then we're ready for the pressure cooker to do its thing. So garlic, like I said, it's about 20, 30 seconds. I'm already smelling it. I don't want to overcook this. I just want it to start releasing its incredible flavor, doing its job. Boom, we're there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. This is 1 can of fire roasted rotel, and I'm going to actually use its juices as well. I'm going to come in here, get this nice and combined. Perfect. Again, you could substitute, call it 4 or 5 Roma tomatoes in here and par blanch them, skin them, or you can do what we did and just add 1 thing of tomatoes, and that's what we're doing today. So with that, we'll come back in about 2 or 3 minutes. All right, this is the last step before we get the pressure cooker going. As you can see here, we cut up all our meat, which again, today we are using a whole leg of goat. We're doing about a 3-pound chuck roast, and we have about a pound, maybe a pound and a half of beef short rib. What we've done is we put some salt and pepper on that, let that get in here, and our tomatoes, onions, and garlic have already been cooking. I have about 1 tablespoon of salt. I'm gonna go ahead and add that entire amount. Have a couple teaspoons of sugar. I'm gonna add that to this. I have about 1 tablespoon of oregano. I did not have Mexican oregano, so we just substituted with our fresh oregano out of the garden. I have the 2 bay leaves that we toasted, as well as the cinnamon stick that we'll add here. And we're gonna go ahead and add all of our meat pieces, and then we're gonna add all of that mole. So we're just gonna kind of work this all in. Oh man, as soon as the rest of those herbs hit in here, it smells incredible. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick this up. See that beautiful goat meat in there, mixed with the beef. This is gonna be special. Can't wait for everybody to get to try this. All right, so I'm now thinking, perfect. And this was just the amount of meat that will fit into our pressure cooker. Have all of our mole. Definitely don't want any of this wasted whatsoever. I can hear Cyrus in the background. I think he's wanting some too. All right. So this is fantastic. All right, that's it. So I have all of that mole. I'm gonna kind of just make sure I rotate all of this meat Make sure everything is combined. I'm gonna bring kind of everything from the bottom up to the top as I go. And that's it. There's not a lot more complication to this entire recipe. Now you can see all the meat. So I'm gonna get in there with your hands if you need to. And that's it, okay. Between all of the fat that's gonna release from this meat, all of the juices that we have here, this is gonna be really special. So before I put this top on, I'm gonna go ahead and clean my hands. But the only step here is I'm gonna put this top on and I'm gonna let this pressure cook for 1 hour. After 1 hour, we're gonna take this top off and you're gonna see how incredible. This is gonna fill our entire house with incredible aroma as this cooks, and join you back in about an hour. All right, welcome back. So the birria has cooked for right at an hour. We've released all the pressure. The meat's starting to get really tender, as you can kind of see. It's already pulling back really easily. One really important step that we did though, before I take this meat out, I carefully just kind of slowly dipped this spoon into here, getting the top layer of oil out and just put it in this bowl. And what that's gonna be used for is we're gonna dip our tortillas in this oil and birria liquid mixture, and that's what we're gonna help fry our tortillas with. Really, really important step. Okay, so here, we're just gonna take this, and I have a little spider here, and I'm just gonna kind of get this in here and start taking the meat out, in big old chunks. And then we're gonna get this all shredded. You can already see a lot of it's already falling apart in here. Perfect. The meat's falling off, and I actually want some of this juice to kind of just ride into this pot here. And that's gonna help when we shred it to keep it moist. The next step, after we shred this meat, is we're actually going to bring it back and put it into this pot, add a little bit of sugar to it, and let the shredded meat cook in its own juices for about 3 to 5 minutes. Then we're gonna take it back out, and then it's ready to plate. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop here and start doing a little shredding so you can see what I do. All I use here is 2 forks. You can use whatever tool you want. You can see the meat should start just kind of shredding apart really nicely. And I want a little bit of a bite. That's perfect. You can see it's just shredding apart. Some of the pieces are a little bit more firm. Some are a lot more tender. As you can see, the meat's kind of come off of most of the short ribs already. You can see it just kind of falls off. I do want to take this one layer of short rib. Obviously, it comes apart real easy. That one fat layer right there, I want to remove that. It's too chewy of a texture. I don't enjoy it, so I do remove that from the bottom of my short ribs. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get this shredded up and get this ready to add back, and we'll join you here in about 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, as you can see, we've now shredded all of this meat. It actually turned out really, really nice. It wasn't overly cooked, which you can really easily do in a Dutch oven and or pressure cooker. Overcook it, and it almost becomes too roasty. This had just the right amount of pull, and as you can see, it is incredibly, incredibly moist. So what we're gonna do right now is I'm actually gonna add all of this meat back to the consomme. I've already turned this on to saute now, and what this is gonna do is allow this finely shredded meat to kind of rehydrate or re-moisturize with all of the juices that it released. I'm only gonna let this cook for about, call it 2 to 3 minutes back in here. And then we're gonna take it right back out and it'll be ready to serve. Again, we're gonna serve it basically as just a stew, and we're gonna also serve it as Quesa Tacos. One last thing that I wanna add, okay, is I don't have to necessarily get all of this back in. As you can see, this is now just completely moist already. One thing I'm gonna add here as this sautés is I have some Texas Wildflower honey. I'm gonna add probably about, let's call it 1 full tablespoon to the dish. And I'm just gonna stir this in. Come on in here and look at this. Now you can just see, I mean, that looks and smells truly remarkable. All right, we're gonna let this cook, like I said, about 3 minutes. It's gonna get up to a nice little saute. We're gonna cook it about 3 minutes. We're gonna pull it back out, and it's time to serve. Okay, so our birria has been re-soaking in its own juices for about 3 minutes. We added that 1 tablespoon of honey. Now we brought it all back out, and just look how incredibly moist this is and incredibly tender. It tastes fantastic. I have to say, I did take a sneak peek. All right, so let me show you how this is traditionally served. So birria, or Mexican stew right here, this is how it would typically be served, right? Served on holidays, got some pickled onions, some radish, queso quesadilla, some avocado, as well as some cilantro. This is fantastic. You can eat it just like this, but the real craze that's been going around, especially the Houston area and Texas all together, has been Quesa Tacos. And again, what we've done, we got our cast iron skillet nice and hot. We have our corn tortilla, and I have my queso already ready. Earlier today, if you remember, I showed you how to kind of barely take the oil off the top of that. Boom. You can see this now soaking that corn tortilla. Now what I'm gonna do, this may kind of simmer up a little bit. Perfect, have this on about a medium heat. I'm gonna cook this on both sides for about, let's say, 30 seconds to a minute on each side. I want this to get to where it's still pliable, but starting to crisp up. So I'm gonna do about 20, 30 seconds on each side. Then I'm gonna go ahead and add my queso. So you can just kind of watch this cook in here. See it starting to bubble. Perfect, it's gonna cook here for another 20 seconds, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn it. After I turn it, I'm gonna let that cook, turn it one more time, and then add our queso. Again, frying this tortilla up is an important part of this recipe. All right. All right, it's starting to harden up. I'm now gonna add my queso quesadilla. And again, the cheesy goodness is a huge part of this. So I'm gonna let that kind of start melting. Just kind of keep moving it around. It's already starting to kind of harden just a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and get my serving of birria. It's about the amount we want, right there. As you can see, it's starting to become a little bit hard to turn. That's what I'm looking for. It's starting to fry up, starting to get hard. Okay. At this point, I'm gonna go ahead and add my birria. Just a nice amount. It's perfect. And it's okay if this starts spilling out, because what that's gonna do is gonna start frying in its own juices again. All right, so with that, I'm gonna turn this. Perfect. And it may not go all the way. Again, that's fine. Just start crackling and popping, it's perfect. Look how beautiful that is. That cheese is now hitting the cast iron skillet. Is gonna start browning. And that's a huge part of what makes this so delicious. Okay, here in just a second, I'm gonna get underneath it, start turning it. Now you can see that birria and that cheese is really gonna start dripping on that other side. And we have a really nice crunch here. So I'm gonna let this cook for probably 20, 30 seconds. I'm looking for it to start to turn color, and then we're gonna be ready to eat. All right, and that is it. Nice. Okay. Now this is extremely hot. I need to turn this off really quickly before we start making more. So this is it. I'm gonna garnish this up with some avocado, all my pickled vegetables and everything, and this is gonna be fantastic. Really hope y'all enjoy this. I can't stress enough how incredible these flavors are. Truly unique, something really special, and this is a craze for a reason. These birria, Quesa Tacos, and birria to just by itself is truly phenomenal. So again, thank you for coming. We hope you enjoyed tonight's Sunday dinner, birria. Again, please subscribe, comment, like, share it with your friends. Come back again and see us on Sunday dinner.